Hey there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a new card making video. Today's card is a Slimline Z-fold and I am using the cutest Gnometivity Stamp Set from Trinity Stamps, creating miniature scenes in each of the sections of this Z-fold Slimline card. It's super cool. You can use it in lots of ways. Plus, I'm going to have a bonus card for you in today's video, so stay tuned for that. The card I'm using features this stamp set, Gnometivity. You can see there are several little gnomes and animals and sentiments that you can use to create a nativity scene with these adorable gnomes. There are dies to cut out all of the things. Here you can see them colored and die cut out, ready to go onto my card. I did this a long time ago and have been waiting for the right idea to bring these to life. Now, I also wanted to show you the other stamp set I'm using, Good Tidings. This is like an add-on set you can get to go with the Gnometivity set. It's got the shepherd, the angel, 2 more sheep, and 2 more sentiments, and of course dies to cut them out. So I'm going to use all of those, but we need a few more things before we put this card together. This is the Woodsy Slimline background stamp, and it is going to make the perfect background for my stable. I didn't want it to be open to the sky, so I'm going to create a little panel that goes behind it. I'm stamping this with black ink on white paper so that I can do a little bit of ink blending and give a little bit of a center highlight to this panel, which I feel is going to add to the 3D effect of it all. So to add the ink, I'm using a blending buddy brush that Trinity Stamps carries, and if you're watching this on the day this video goes out, you're watching it during Black Friday weekend, which is a huge sale at Trinity Stamps. These blending buddy brushes are on sale, which never happens. So if you want to build up your stash and create a collection so you can use one for each of the color families, now is the time to do that. Plus, they make great gifts for your crafty friends. All right, so there is my panel all ink blended. I needed to trim it down just a little bit so it fits behind that stable a little bit better. It was just a scrap I had and it was a little too big, so I trimmed that out. Okay, now we're moving on to the Z-fold part of the card. This is the front panel and it measures 9 1/4 by 3 3/4. Then you're going to need to score this to create that Z-fold. It is scored at 8 3/4 and 4 1/4 inch. I am adding some ink blending to this panel so it can be a night sky. From the bottom, I brought in some hickory smoke, and you can see I have my blending buddy brush that's designated for gray ink. And then from the top, I brought in my black brush and added black soot and blended those two together. Now, the clips and the little discs that go with the blending buddy brushes are sold separately, and you just add them on. They're really easy to do. All right, so we've got that done. I'm going to do the same thing with the card front base, which measures 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. These two panels are actually going to hook together and then be attached to the card base. So I did the same exact ink blending on this one, gray from the bottom and black from the top, and then we need to create the stars for this scene. So for that, I'm bringing in my distress sprayer with water, spritzing that down, letting it kind of moisten that ink and collect some of the color, and then I'll put down a paper towel just in case there's still any wet spots I need to pick up. And that is the first layer. I love splatter on my cards. I do it all the time. But we need a second layer, the stars. So I'm taking some Dr. P.H. Martin's No Bleed or Bleed Proof White and adding a little bit of water because it's super thick and I want to splatter it. So I have a paintbrush here and I'm tapping it, and as I first tap it, those droplets are much bigger, but as I've used up some of the paint, the droplets get smaller. So I'm just going to repeat that so I have larger and smaller droplets on both panels. And now we're going to bring in the die set for the Gnometivity set and die cut out the stable from black fun foam. This is going to raise it up for me and also make it a little bit more stable. You got to have a stable, right? Because the little ends of the roof are going to hang off my card. So, and the black is going to blend in perfectly with the dark background. Speaking of dark, this is the darkest brown paper I have ever seen. It is from my stash, and they do not make this color anymore, but I thought it was perfect for this nighttime scene to have the ground or the sand or whatever be really dark brown. Now, I'm cutting these long strips that will fit the length of my card, and I cut the first one, lined it up with my second one, and I was able to lay the die down exactly where I wanted it to go. So when these two are side by side, it's going to create a seamless look. All right, also from this, it's the Embossed Hills and Slopes die set. There is one that's very hilly. I just want that second little hill for my shepherd to stand on. And my panels are actually longer than the dies because my paper is 8 3/4. So I'm just snipping them out with my scissors. And I do like to make my these kind of strips that you add to your cards longer than my card. That way I can snip it off and I know it's going to fit edge to edge versus having a little bit of a gap. However, this one will have a gap. You saw how I cut it in half? That's just so this interactive part of the card bends and folds easier. If I glued that down, it wouldn't fold back as nicely, but I have a little fix for that gap that's super easy. Once I add in my second hill for the little gnome shepherd to stand on, I'm going to bring in a Copic marker to fill that in. Also, at this point, I wanted to go ahead and add my rip and stick tape to that little extra flap. That's the flap that's going to attach the Z-fold to the card front base. There you can see I used E49 to color in that gap because it was, you know, the same kind of really dark brown as my paper. Okay, we're adding on now that wood grain background, and it's going to fit perfectly inside my stable here, which is very stable from the fun foam, right? And you'll see how the roof hangs off of those edges just a little bit, but it's not going to fold up because it's got that fun foam behind it. All right, so there's my stable. Now it's ready to be filled up with our first mini scene. So first I'm putting in the sentiment that says, "For unto us a child is born." That is so perfect for this little scene with Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and a sheep. So here's Joseph and then Mary, and I am putting them down first because I'm going to pop up my other images on top of that. So they're going to be kind of in the background a little bit. And then the sheep is actually going to be half on the stable and half on the background. So that's why I only used one little foam square there and a bit of glue. And I often like to use liquid glue on my foam squares. It lets me wiggle them around, and I know it's not going to pop off later, especially on an interactive type card. All right, the star also gets a little bit of a foam strip and a little bit of liquid glue because it's half on the stable, half on the sky, and that star is the thing that totally brings this scene to life, right? It shows you where to go. All right, so the next part of our story is the little shepherd. But when I was creating this card, I really needed to sketch it all out and figure out what each of my little mini scenes were going to be. So I used my card maker's sketchbook from Trinity Stamps. I wanted to show it to you in case you hadn't seen it. I know I've showed it before because I use it all the time to plan out my cards. And it lets me get my ideas in one place, write down my measurements, write down the colors I've used, the names of things, and also I can capture layouts that I like. I can watch YouTube videos, sketch out cards that I've seen that I'd like to create, and you don't have to be an artist, as you can tell. I'm not. That's why I stamp. But this is so very helpful, and it's $10 off during the Black Friday sale. Another great gift for, you know, your crafty friends. And so I wanted to make sure and mention that, but it's only for Black Friday. So if you're watching this later, you might have missed the sale, but it's still an amazing tool. I will have all of the things linked for you below, and you can see my little shepherd on the hill. It has the sentiment, "Oh Holy Night." Each of my scenes are going to have their own sentiment. I've added the sheep, and now it's time to move on to that card front base. I'm putting on my little ground piece here, and then I'm making sure that the right side and the left side are kind of their own separate scenes because part of this is going to be covered up when you add that Z-fold. So I'm adding my sentiment. Yes, I do know what it's supposed to say, but sometimes I just am an airhead. Yeah, just sometimes, you know, each day. So luckily I used liquid glue and I was able to move those around. And there you can see the little angel flying in the sky. It is so very cute. And then for the next side, I brought in my card front, the Z-fold part, because it's very divided. And it helped me make sure I was getting these scenes kind of in their own little section. And I wanted to make sure I didn't cover up one of these wise men that I'm adding because it's going to show on the very front of the card. So you'll see, I fold this up. We've got the wise men there on the right and the nativity scene on the left. And then this is going to extend and show all of these parts of the nativity story at once. I think it's so much fun, kind of like a storybook or a flannel board. Remember flannel boards? And I think it's just really cute. It tells the whole story and is a good reminder of, you know, what we're all about this season of this time of year. All right, so I colored in that extra little gap there with my brown marker again. And then for the inside of the card, I have a gray panel that is 8.5 by 3.5. And I'm using just the extra ink on my black blending brush to add a little dusting of color. I added another border there at the bottom, and I'm bringing in the two images I did not use on the outside because they're the cutest. Yeah, it's the camel and the donkey. They are darling. So they're going to go on that little hill, and then I'm going to add the sentiment, "Oh, come, let us adore him." I had to use that. It's so very sweet. All right, so this is going to go on the inside of my card base, which is 8 inches by 4 inches, no, 8 by 9, scored at 4 inches, and then I'll have a border all the way around this, but I wanted to leave a nice big area there in the center to write a sentiment. All right, now the whole Z-fold panel is getting added to the front of this card. It's going to have a black border all the way around it, and it really helps stabilize this piece here. And it is so much fun just to open it, see all the little miniature scenes. It is so cute. And I'm just so happy to have all of them on one card. It's so fun. All right, so now it is time to embellish. I'm bringing in this gold star mix. It's got bigger and smaller stars. They're gold with an iridescent finish, so it's going to give my card a little bit of shine in the light and kind of brighten up the night sky a little bit and add to that starry feel. So I'll just glue those down using my pickup stick, one of my most used tools in the craft room. I love it so much. It really makes work of adding embellishments so very easy. And the other end has like a piercing tool, and you can use that to scoot your embellishments around, poke out paper, all kinds of things. So there it is with the stars added. Look at all the fun little scenes. And then, of course, we've got the cuties on the inside to finish it up. So there it is. Let's take a look at some other Z-fold cards that I have made. This is the very first one I ever made, and the very first stamp sets I got from Trinity Stamps that made me fall in love with the stamp company, and actually is how I got on the design team because they saw my videos with it. So I wanted to share that with you, and those images are in the last chance section of the store, which is also on sale during Black Friday. So if you love that bunny burrow or the mouse house one, check that out. All right, so this other Z-fold card, I added a pocket in the snowbank for a gift card, and those are some other Christmas gnomes. You can see how they're much bigger, and I did make that card a little bit smaller, the typical 8.5 by 3.5 inch size. I do have videos for those. I'll link them for you at the end of this video, so you can just click on it and watch it next. But here you can see pictures of this card, and maybe you'll want to take this idea and use some stamps that you already own to create your own Z-fold slimline. If you think you're going to try it, you got to let me know in the comments below. It'd make my day. Plus, I just love chatting with you guys. Okay, let's move on to the bonus card, because if you love these Christmas gnomes, check out Santa. Oh, he's so cute. And the North Pole Gnomes. That's the name of this set. And of course, dies to cut out all the things. I think my favorite are the reindeer. Look how cute they are colored up and die cut out. They're such a fun size, smaller than the typical gnomes that Trinity Stamps has made in the past, which I just love. So we're going to create some mini scenes for this one as well using this star slimline die. Now I have to tell you, I had a little hand in designing this particular die, and it's designed so this panel can look good whether it's vertical or horizontal. So I love that. And the fallout stars have an embossed edge. We're going to make a shaker with this, and I want each window to have its own color behind it. So I die cut this from 3 different colors, and I'm going to lay those back in with the front piece for a second while I add some liquid pixie dust from Ink on 3 as splatter for this card. And that's going to give it kind of a shiny, maybe snowy type feel to it. love that. So I'm just using that same paintbrush to tap it down and get the splatter all over. It's going to give me bigger and smaller droplets with this style of brush. All right, next I'm going to lay this cover piece onto a background, and that's just going to allow me to line up each of the stars as I glue them in place. So the top panel is not adhered down, it's just laying there. I want to make sure that these stars are exactly where I want them to go once I create my shaker. So that's why I'm doing that, gluing each one down, and it will fit there perfectly. And they're so sparkly and shiny with that liquid pixie dust on it. Love it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating the rest of our shaker by adding a window panel or a window sheet to the back of this. So I'm using liquid glue to attach it. I find the Bearly Art Glue works really well for the window sheets. I never have it come apart, so I really like that. Now, for the shaker bit, I'm using some foam tape to create little reservoirs for them, as I like to call them, so they don't escape. But I wanted to divide each section. I didn't want to make one huge shaker panel. Then I would have to use a ton of shaker bits to fill it up. And when you hold up the card, all the shaker bits are going to fall to the bottom, so you wouldn't see them in each of the panels. Now, for these shaker bits, I am using these flat back, clear glittered confetti pieces. They are gorgeous. They're in different sizes, and I just love how they kind of give you that bokeh look. So very fun. So you can see I added some to each star, removed the backing on my foam tape, and then I'm going to add a little liquid glue, which again gives me the ability to scoot it around just in case it's not exactly lined up. And I always like to have that option. Plus, I know it's going to stick down and stay there for a long time with both liquid and dry adhesive. All right, so there you can see my shaker. I wish I would have added a little bit more. I think some of them stuck to the side. That made me sad, but the show must go on. So let's add our cute little scenes to each of those stars. The center one got the sleigh with the bag of presents in it, Santa and Mrs. Claus there at the bottom, and the elf and the sitting reindeer, which is the most adorable. There at the top, and then I'll have a sentiment for each star. So it's going to say, wishing you a Merry Christmas, and of course, by Santa, we have ho ho ho. Then we're going to add this to the card base. That is a nice bright red, and we'll have a red border all the way around the edge. So cool. All right, then we're adding some more stars to this card. These are the bokeh stars, which you can see are clear with an iridescent finish, and it's going to give me that nice shiny look when it's turned in the light. That I love that. It's just like another little surprise when the person is shaking the card. All right, so we added those, and then I had one image left. I'm not sure if you noticed, but Rudolph did not make the outside of the card. There was just not enough room, so I knew he would be a showstopper on the inside. Plus, I added a few of those stars around him. Let that dry before shutting my card, and here is the finished look at our bonus card. Really easy to create little miniature scenes like this versus trying to put all of them in one big scene. So if you have trouble with scene building, maybe try creating some miniature scenes like this. I think it turned out really cute. And these gnomes, I mean, they just steal my heart. So if you are watching this during the Black Friday, make sure you go check out all the sales going on during Black Friday weekend. You don't want to miss that. And I have it all linked for you below. If you're new here, I have new paper crafting videos all the time. So feel free to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Happy stamping!